Hello all and welcome back to the channel. Here I will be telling my stories. Some will be creative and some will be real happenings. It's up to you to decide which you want to believe. Let's get started. Today's story is called Sister's Keeper, Part 2. She held out her hands and I could see that she was holding something small and shiny. As she continued to chant, I saw that it was a small, intricately carved dagger. Suddenly the air around us began to shimmer and warp, as if reality itself were bending and twisting. I felt a sense of vertigo, and I stumbled backwards, struggling to keep my footing. The woman didn't seem to notice. She continued to chant, her voice growing louder and more urgent. As the shimmering grew stronger, I saw something begin to emerge from the trees. It was like a fog, but it was thicker and more opaque. It seemed to be flowing towards us, enveloping us in its misty embrace. I felt a sense of panic rise within me, but I couldn't move. I was rooted to the spot, unable to tear my eyes away from the approaching fog, and then, suddenly, it was upon us. It was like being plunged into a different world, a world of shadows and whispers, of strange sights and stranger sounds. I could hear the woman's voice, but it was distorted and twisted, like it was coming from far away. I tried to call out, to ask her what was happening, but my voice was just a croak in the darkness. For what felt like an eternity, we floated in the misty darkness, lost in a world beyond comprehension. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. The mist parted, and I found myself standing in a strange, otherworldly landscape. The woman was beside me, her hand still gripping the dagger tightly. I looked around, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. The sky was a deep blood-red color, and the landscape was crisscrossed with jagged blackened rocks. In the distance, I could see strange, twisted shapes moving, but I couldn't make out what they were. And then I saw them, two figures, huddled together in the shadows. They looked up as we approached, their eyes wide with fear. "Sisters," the woman whispered, her voice heavy with emotion, "I've found you." As we walked towards them, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. This hidden world was not a place for the living. It was a place of darkness and shadows, a place where the lost and forgotten went to be consumed by the void. And now we were here, in the midst of it all, trying to rescue two lost souls. I don't know how we made it out of that place. All I know is that we did. The woman clutched her sisters tightly as we emerged from the misty darkness, and I could see tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for helping me find them." As we parted ways, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had just witnessed something beyond my understanding, something that was not meant for mortal eyes, and I knew that I would never forget that night, the night I journeyed into the hidden world. Days after that eerie encounter, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every shadow seemed to hide something sinister, and every whisper sounded like a warning. I tried to tell myself that it was just my imagination, that the hidden world was nothing more than a nightmare conjured by my mind, but deep down I knew that it was real, and that thought terrified me. One night, as I lay in bed, trying to calm my racing thoughts, I heard a faint tapping at my window. I sat up, my heart pounded. Was it the woman, back to ask for my help again? Or was it something else, something far more sinister? Slowly, I crept towards the window, my heart in my throat, and then I saw it, a pale face staring in at me with empty eyes. I recoiled, stumbling backwards and crashing to the floor. I scrambled to my feet, my mind racing with fear and confusion. Was it a dream? Or was it something real, something from the hidden world? As I lay there gasping for breath, I knew that I couldn't ignore it any longer. I had to face my fears, to confront the darkness that had been lurking in the shadows. And with a sense of dread and determination, I set out to find the woman once more, to ask her about the hidden world, to understand the secrets that it held. But when I arrived at her doorstep, I found only emptiness. The house was dark and silent, and there was no sign of anyone inside. I called out, my voice echoing through the empty halls, but there was no answer. It was as if the woman and her sisters had vanished into thin air. And then I heard it again, a faint tapping coming from the shadows. I turned, my heart racing, and saw a figure standing in the darkness. It was the woman, her face twisted with fear. "They're coming," voice barely above a whisper. "They're coming for us." I didn't know who or what she was talking about, but I could feel the urgency in her voice. Together, we fled into the night, running through the empty streets, our hearts pounding with fear. And as we ran, I knew that I was no longer alone. The hidden world had followed me back, and it was hungry for more. Thank you for being here. That was all for today. If you like this story or any of the stories, feel free to like, share, and/or subscribe. See y'all in the next one.